Everyone wants to be either a Zepto or a Zomato or a Swiggy, and in this particular pace, is branding dying? What is your take?
I think they are digital era brands, completely digital businesses, but such a strong brand identity.
How can a person be perfect in skill in marketing?
I think marketing itself has gone so wide, from branding to digital to now AI. I think today entrepreneurship obviously is a lot easier.
Sure.
First of all, to think of it.
Yeah.
Like I came from a typical 1 BHK middle class Bombay household. I think entrepreneurship was high risk.
You get a chance to be a CMO of a retail brand like IKEA or
Okay.
Apple or DMart. What are the changes that you'll bring for Indian consumers?
I think IKEA is doing a good job, but I don't know whether that's their strategy.
What do you suggest for this younger generation? What they should work on, and which career is going to be the safest option for them in next 10 years?
Kids choose a career, start their graduation, because everybody does graduate in India. And a lot of kids, when they are coming to the third or fourth year, are worried whether what they studied, is there a market for it since AI has come in.
As a marketeer, what do you want to suggest for brands like us, from a modular industry or from a furniture industry, that what are the corrective measures that we should take?
I think the advisory aspect when they are building furniture, because kitchens, I would also say, are emotional spaces in the houses.
Sure.
So how do you interact with that homemaker and make her feel comfortable is again your marketing team's job as much as it's your sales team's job, I would think.
Yes. Hi guys, welcome back to our podcast Built to Last by Tusker Kitchens. Our today's guest is one of my favorite guests. I have been following her on LinkedIn from very long. She has worked in retail, she has scaled up D2C brand, quick commerce brand, and she has actually seen brands scaling, rising and falling. She is a top voice of LinkedIn and an ad gully woman disruptor. 30 years in marketing and still continuing in scaling up and shaping up the brand today. Let's welcome Jemina Menon to our podcast Built to Last by Tusker Kitchens. Hi Jemina, welcome to our podcast Built to Last by Tusker Kitchen. I know you from a long time because I've been always observing you on LinkedIn and I've been following you. So I was a fanboy. I'm still a fanboy.
Thank you.
And when I saw you for the first time in at CMO Circle, and the kind of aura you have, it was so positive, and I think we all look up to you,
Thank you
Jamila,
so
and
much.
we feel so delighted to have someone like you in the community, inspiring us and guiding us. So, Jamina, 30 years in marketing, right? Can we know a bit about your story in short? Where are you from? How did you landed in marketing, and what are you doing now? In short.
So I'm a Bombayite, born and brought up there. And when I was in college, I was very fascinated by advertising because, that was the time we were getting ads on TV and all of us knew the jingles by heart in those days. And my college, HR college, used to have this event called Chocolate Day. And our neighboring building in those days had the Ogilvy advertising office, and we used to go there because Cadbury's was their account, and they would help us connect to the brand, get at discounts, etc. And it looked like a fun place because people advertising people were always casually dressed. It was always a fun atmosphere versus stuffy atmosphere in an office, corporate. So it looked like fun, and then I used to kind of read a lot of stuff in Ad Age magazines, which was in our college library. So it looked like something I should do and, would enjoy, and kind of focused on that and got into Lintas advertising when I started. But actually, I didn't start as a marketer. I started as an accountant because
Oh.
I had done BCom and, cost accounting. So when I applied, they had a vacancy in accounts and they put me over there. And 20-year-olds 30 years back didn't have choice. Whatever came their way, they just went with it. And somehow, when you're 20, you also believe that kahin to tapkenge jahan jana hai, kind of a thing. So I started over there, which was good because I always say that that gave me an idea of how to manage money, learn money, understand from an accounting point of view. And I think, which is why I like to call myself an ROI marketer, which is why much before terms like ROAS came into play, it was something you did, that what are you doing and what are the results you're getting. So I think that grounding in finance from education and the first 3 years helped. Then I was getting married and shifting to Bangalore, and like only a 23-year-old can do, I walked into the CFO's room and said, hey, give me a transfer and I also want to shift of department. And he said, okay, we'll see. And I'm like, if you're not giving me, I'll quit. Not that I had any other job or option, but you only do these things when you're 23, 24. I did that. They humored me. And when I shifted to Bangalore in 94 to Lindas Bangalore is when actually my marketing journey, so to say, began.
Yeah.
So, I did about 12 years of conventional advertising from the days when print, radio, and outdoor ruled, and TV, of course. And then I shifted to retail marketing about 20 years back because I kind of got bored with advertising and wanted to do marketing, wanted to be the client. Grass always looks greener on the other side, and it is greener on the other side, I would say. And that's how I kind of went. And again, I had to choose between doing retail, which was upcoming then as an industry in Bangalore, and IT somehow never fascinated me.
Sure.
So I took the call to be in retail, and this was the time when the first mall of the country had still not come up. You only had Aditya Birla and Arvind Mills as retailers of repute, and branded retail was just starting. So it was like, chhalang maar di, dekhenge kahan jata hai. And yeah, 20 years plus, I'm doing it, I'm loving it.
Oh my.
Gone the whole circle from brick and mortar retail, malls and Reliance retail stores to, e-commerce, where in the pandemic I pivoted to becoming a consultant and helping brands go online, to now today at Bhartiya, where I manage a portfolio. And for the first time, I'm doing B2B also in the last 2 years. So B2B marketing and B2C marketing across assets. And while the mall is a brick and mortar place, almost 90% of our marketing is digital. So that's what we are doing.
Wow. Today, I think everything, the world around us is moving very, very fast.
Very fast.
Very fast. In fact, in
Makes me realize my age. I sometimes struggle to cope.
I'll tell you, everyone wants to be either a Zepto or a Zomato or a Swiggy, and there is a peer pressure on marketeers, right? So in this particular pace, is branding dying? What is your take? Because performance is taking the front seat.
So the conventional way of branding is perhaps dying, where you ran brand campaigns. And that's again coming, like you rightly said, from performance marketing. Because performance marketing is so measurable that if every time you're going to look at the funnel and going to look at ROAS, you will be focusing on promotional campaigns. Because then you will, do your complete add to cart, exit, discount chala, nahi chala, variant chala, nahi chala kind of a thing. But if you start investing in branding, you will see it over a period of time, and branding can also come in. Can a promotion also cover branding? I think brands are doing that, Like I love to give the example of curly hair products because it's made my life easy. That they talk of the problem.
Sure.
And it's clearly relatable to a customer like me, who is obviously their customer. But end May, if they are still saying buy one, get one, it's fine. Because I'm buying the product for what it does.
And not
just the offer. The offer just gets me gets them the conversion now. And which is where, if we can set targets where we look at it holistically, saying for a month or a quarter, what's the spend and what's the total ROAS, then we will focus on branding. Because otherwise a customer is only buying you during a promotion and perhaps not buying for what you stand for.
Sure.
And that a lot of brands are changing. You spoke of Zomato and Swiggy. I think they are digital era brands, completely digital businesses, but such a strong brand identity.
Correct.
I mean, yesterday Zomato celebrated its birthday without a logo ad. I mean, who had that guts? Only Nike had that guts, right? So how can you say they haven't built a brand? They continue building it. They continue doing it. Swiggy does it. So this belief, it may not be the typical branding where there is a, 100% brand communication ad, like a good old Sunsilk or Clinic kind of an ad, but how you really put in all layers. And today the touch points are so many.
Sure.
So are you ensuring the brand is there at each of these touch points and with its own tone of voice?
Correct. Yeah.
That is something we need to kind of really look at. 360 degrees is used very loosely, but are you really implementing 360-degree service?
Is the question.
Is
Yeah.
the question. Is the
Absolutely.
question.
I agree with you. I always think that this is something for somebody like us who have spent a decent amount of time in the industry. But today's generation, where I want a lot of my new talent and new brains to come in my team. So they ask me this very interesting question that David, what are you expecting out of me? So I make her or him work on every department in 20% basis. And that's not very cool is what I think, because end of the day they go home with so much fatigue. So new talent is suffering because of this. What is your take on this?
I think new talent, for what we are seeing, and there is a lot of this talk about how Gen Zs are very clear what they don't want to do, what they want to do. So first, let me make it very clear. All of us in 20s were similar. All of us in 30s were similar. All of us in 40s were similar. Did the world allow us to make those choices?
Sure. Yeah.
It did not.
Yeah.
Like I told you about how I wanted to be in marketing, but I ended up being in
Correct, yeah.
accounts. I didn't have a choice, but I made my shift. I made the choice. I made the pivot.
Sure.
Yeah. I may have not been able to have made it, and I wouldn't have been on this podcast today because I was probably a finance person then. Yeah. But the first thing is that how much are they willing to learn? And I hate to say it, but I see that willingness to learn kind of reducing. I think the greed our generation had of wanting to do more is a little lesser. Now, whether you call it focus or you call it lack of greed, it's
But
two
this
sides
is
of
what-
the same coin.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's also how we as managers and people who have done it actually explain it to him. So
Sure.
how do you make them go to the product cycle? How do you make them talk to those 20 customers because they feel reading Instagram comments is the same?
Yeah.
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 So I think that is for us to do it. And I think once you push somebody saying, "ठीक है, Instagram comments to पढ़ लिए, now go and speak to that customer. Stand over there with the sales guy and make the sale." They will come back enriched. So we also need to gently guide them. And if they are not moving, push them. But these are the ways we need to make them understand where we are coming from.
Correct.
Clearly, talking down is definitely not the right approach, but it is more about guiding them, telling them. And when they speak to 5 customers, they'll realize how the comments were perhaps right, wrong, or something was missing in the comments.
Sure.
When they stand with that salesperson and really realize his challenge and really realize how difficult it is to make a sale, they will get more empathetic and they'll understand and take feedback a little more positively. So we have to do that, and yes, we have to have that rollout. And if you have multiple products, maybe make person responsible for one product and
Yeah.
all marketing aspects, or you do a function-wide divide and rotate. But yeah, you'll have to keep playing it, is what I feel.
Yeah, but then this is what your mom's generation would have told you also, what we are probably telling the generation. I think it changes time to time. But I also know, for a matter of fact, because I have a lot of such talent in my team, and I love surrounding myself with this younger generation,
energy.
because
Definitely, energy.
So but I know that 8 out of this 10 guys, they want to do something on their own.
Which is also fine.
So nobody wants to be in this game for a longer duration. They come for a short sprint and they treat it like a short burst. And they back of the mind, they are doing some crazy stuff on their own space. So what is your observation on this?
I think today entrepreneurship obviously is a lot easier.
Sure.
First of all, to think of it.
Yeah.
Like I came from a typical 1 BHK middle class Bombay household. I think entrepreneurship was high risk. Yeah. It took me 25 years and a pandemic to think of it and become a consultant, right? Which is kind of an entrepreneurship, right? Because then you had to be ready to leave the comfort zone, kind of a thing. So today that barrier is gone for them, which is good.
Correct.
The unfortunate part is you hear about the Swiggies and Zeptos and the listings and the unicorns. What is not spoken about much is the 9 failures, other brands, 9 other could be Zomatos which
Sure.
make it.
Sure.
You know, we only know about Zomato. We don't know the 9 or 19 or 99 which didn't make it.
Correct.
And it's equally important for people like us to talk about it
Yeah.
and be ready for it.
Sure.
And also, given that these youngsters perhaps do not have the mental strength we have, make them ready that this could also be a failure without demotivating.
Sure.
So I think entrepreneurship is good if people are hustling, having a side hustle, doing something on weekends after us. I would completely encourage
Sure.
that. But also be ready to take that risk, and risk also means you may not get the reward. So that they have to be mentally, prepared for, which I think is a challenge for Gen Zs today.
Great. Yeah. Yeah. And being in this industry for such a long time, if you get a chance to be a CMO of a retail brand like IKEA or
Okay.
an Apple or a DMart. Let's take DMart and IKEA and Apple. What are the changes that you'll bring for Indian segment, Indian consumers? These three brands as a CMO. First three quarters.
So I will choose IKEA.
No problem.
I love IKEA as a brand.
Yeah.
I remember visiting their Stockholm store almost 15 years back.
Sure.
And it was like my candy store because I love cooking and I'd never seen such kind of kitchen equipment and, even things like your spatulas and so many other accessories which we never thought we would ever have in our kitchens. I think IKEA is doing a good job, but IKEA, I feel, still now has not Indianized. Now, I don't know whether that's their strategy or whether that's their approach, because, of course, they sound international and they look international and their products are international. Their pricing is not, so which is a good thing from a India market perspective. But I feel if they could, I would first work with the merchandising team and see the products which are more India centric.
Okay.
I don't really see myself looking for, say, cookware from IKEA because it's still not very India centric. Yeah. I won't get the kind of kadhai I want.
Sure.
I may not get a dosa tawa there, which is important for me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to use a pan as a dosa tawa, but I need a dosa tawa as a dosa tawa. So that is very important for me. They have gotten good stuff for festive, but I think what we are seeing in Diwali is an early release of Christmas. So I would focus more on, and I hope for this Diwali, they have already closed, we are in July, the merchandise buy for Diwali, because a diya is very different from a candle. Yes, there are modern homes doing candle, but Diwali ke din bhai diya chahiye. We don't want the candle. So I really wish they come up with more of that, because they came up, I think, with 1 or 2 lamps last year. If I was the marketer, I would insist on at least a dozen designs. Yeah. Color. We in India are colorful.
Sure.
We love color.
Yeah.
We embrace color. We wear color at the slightest opportunity.
Sure.
I would add more color to the merchandise. So I would say the fix is not marketing. The fix is elsewhere. And then it's the marketer's job to say IKEA made for India or IKEA now for India kind of a thing. Then that would be my campaign.
You picked up a very interesting brand, I'll tell you, IKEA, because I am in this space from quite a while now. IKEA's product, they are a DIY product.
Correct.
And why they are successful in the European countries, because everyone there are doing something on the weekend and they know, how to read a manual, how to
I fixed small table chairs.
Wow. Very few cases, but in India, their module didn't worked out very well in their loose.
Their research showed them, so they did that actually.
Look, because we Indians, we don't we are not very, very pro in the DIY. We don't want to make our hands dirty.
Correct.
And that's why, we want somebody to come install, order.
Yeah.
And that's why their segment is also, not working pretty good on that, making space. I think it's been quite a while that you're married, and I just wanted to understand your homemaking journey, like how you built your first house and what was your experience back then.
So I always liked cooking, etc., etc. So after marriage, it took us, I think, maybe about 8 or 10 years to build the first house.
Oh.
And the first apartment we purchased, we were, of course, quite broke, and literally we were edge to edge. And we were lucky because the house we bought, the previous buyer had made it, got it done up, and then he had to go abroad. So he locked it up, and 2 years later he sold it to us. So we literally moved in with nothing to do, wardrobes done, kitchen done, etc., etc. So yes, we didn't get to do it our way, but he had good taste. It was good.
Sure.
We didn't anyway have the money. We saved at that time, I think 20 years, 25 years back, probably 3 lakhs, and not doing the interiors. 12 years back, we shifted to the apartment we now live in, and we were going to do it completely. And my husband knows how much I love to cook, and he was like, and I had always been saying, I want this equipment, I want that kind of stuff. And it is a fairly large kitchen. It's a 10 by 12 kitchen, which is good, with a service, balcony for the wet areas. So we had, of course, a budget, and he said, you first finalize your kitchen and we'll do the rest of the house with the balance money. So I literally went and got everything that I wanted, so the best fittings, the sliding, shut softly doors, the huge oven which I wanted, built-in oven, a built-in microwave, everything with its own place, even a few glass cabinets to put some of the glassware. So yeah, it's still my favorite room in the kitchen.
Very
Your house.
interesting, because you know what I think, Indians spend so much time and energy and investment in selecting a sofa, but they are not very much insightful, or they don't think the essence or necessity of spending on right kitchen. So why is this? I mean, why is this so much of?
Like I said, you're speaking to the wrong person.
But I'm talking about the.
I literally spent 30% of my home interior budget on my kitchen.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I still love it, and it's perfect, and
Yeah.
it doesn't look 12 years old, more importantly, because I handle it with care,
Sure.
kind of a thing. But I think what you're saying also has a lot to do with our ability to, way we think. So a sofa is in a living room where your guests are going to see. So you're probably coming in with that mindset, ke koi aayega, they are definitely going to see the living room. So the living room has to be perfect. Also, you need to remember that not many women work, and hence, are they going to be allowed to spend on something where they, or today the maids are spending, or the cook is spending time in?
Yeah.
So the way people are looking at it is perhaps incorrect, and I would think there has been a shift in the last 5-7 years. I don't know whether it's big enough to make a difference to the market, but today almost all youngsters, whether they are male or female, do cook. MasterChef has made it easy for us to, kind of want those kitchens, do different kinds of cooking, add new equipment. You felt you had added everything, suddenly an air fryer came up. So those kind of things are happening. So people are spending on those gadgets, but I'm surprised that they think it doesn't need importance, because I definitely still spend a lot on cookware.
Sure, sure. And I also think, the kitchen purchase is mostly on the design and the emotions. So what is your take on that? Like,
See, design is a very different word. When we normally say designs, we are talking of colors and patterns.
Sure.
But now we all know, especially with digital, that there is UI, UX. The user experience is also design. So today, I think if you get a good kitchen brand, they also help you say, like the guy guided me. Don't you need a separate pull out for, say, the oil bottles, which can be messy? Don't you need this? Don't you need that? So if you have a good kitchen brand and a good advisor, it really does help. Pinterest, of course, can tell you how to make it look beautiful, but usage, you have to see it, and one has to really visualize. You need to go 2 or 3 times to the store to really understand how big the drawers are, or how small they are.
Sure.
Things like even your cutlery drawer, how are you going to break up the cutlery for usage, kind of a thing. So I think these are nuances you need to spend time on, and I think a brand should also train its sales staff to guide women in that fashion if they are not clear, or they may not have an idea of doing, kind of a thing.
and if you see globally, stainless steel kitchen brands are growing. Why Indians are still emotionally attached with wood? I mean, they're still selecting wood in their kitchen.
I think one is conditioning, and one is the belief that wood is everlasting, though of course, if you don't use good quality wood in a wet area, you are going to have challenges. I ensured I upgraded to a marine ply so that I don't have those challenges going forward. Because at the end of the day, you do have your maids and cook handling it 70% of
Yeah.
the time, you know. Stainless steel kitchens are, if I'm not mistaken, about the framing being steel.
Yeah.
And I really wish I knew that option when I was doing it. I think it's a great option because steel is a very durable material.
Sure.
I don't know whether cost is the reason. I'm assuming it'll cost 50% more and hence are people
I
willing to.
don't think so. It is 15 to 20% more
Oh my
than
God,
other
it's
kitchens.
just that much. I think it's an upgrade worth doing.
Yeah.
I'm going to get in touch with you if I decide to renovate.
Yeah.
But I think at 20%, you really need to then show customers the value they are getting because steel is not going to warp and bend, which, kitchen wood will. And you could sometimes have leakages which will cause it for you, however well you maintain, those are wet areas, you can't do much. So maybe you just need to kind of explain to people what they are paying for because if I knew it was only 20% and if I knew of it when I did 12 years back, my current kitchen, I would have definitely spent some more on my kitchen.
Because I also think that our Indian cooking habits are totally different than European cooking habits. So for Indian cooking habits, I don't think people think about it the kitchen is the most busiest part of a house, by the way.
Correct.
Right. So people fall into a trap of marketing myths. So when they're buying 20, 25 lakh rupees ka kitchen, 15, 20 lakh rupees, what are the 2, 3 marketing myths that they fall for, Jamina?
I think one is, like you said, design. They
Sure.
put too much focus on whether it's a wood laminate or a colored laminate, the surface granite or Korean material. I think they fall more for those gizmos. And very often, I have seen some of my friends who have new of say, "Arey yaar, wo drawer मैंने बहुत दूर कर दिया." So that is where the designer or the decorator or the kitchen vendor needs to come in and help them understand.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that's very important. Also, certain things like I'll tell you, I never did a hob, and my husband and my son wanted me to put the hob, and I refused saying the maids can't handle it,
Sure.
the cook can't handle it. So sometimes you need to be practical about it, and that's where I had to let go of design because I had to be practical. I can't have them damaging what was in those days a 40,000 hob
Yeah.
and replacing it, versus a 10,000 same 4 burner stuff kind of a thing. So those are the aspects I feel. And really imagining what you're going to do. And I think today the way kitchen appliances are exploding, maybe keep a provision for having additional stuff coming in.
Sure.
So, and the amount of times you're going to cook. So what is closed, what is not closed, which vessels you use more frequently, what dabbas you need to remove.
Sure.
You need to also remember Indian women are not very tall. So sometimes people
Yeah.
make a lot of shelves,
Sure.
So you keep that in mind when you are kind of designing the shelves and what you're going to be putting in the shelves.
So the ergonomics, right?
Ergonomics is very important.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the UX of, I guess, a
Kitchen.
kitchen.
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely, yes. Also, Jamina, when there is a word that is trending in in any advertisement and marketers are overusing it, it's either premium or luxury. So everywhere you see, there's a premium word or a luxury word.
It's become hygiene.
It's so. What do you think? It has become a mandatory. There's that person, upper middle class or middle class. They fall for this word and they'll end up choosing a wrong, product because premium and luxury is totally different. And
See, premium and luxury are made of two components.
Sure.
One is the product and one is the price.
correct.
And indirectly, you're trying to tell somebody you're taking a price. Yeah.
Yeah.
So luxury is, for example, I don't know, maybe right now it's a Kohler tap in your kitchen. Yeah. It's a Korean countertop versus a granite, I'm assuming.
Sure.
Yeah. It is what kind of inbuilt fittings are you doing?
Yeah.
Because today you also get, like abroad, refrigerators which come with the same
Correct.
finish and all. And I don't see too many people in India doing that as yet.
Sure.
Maybe it's happening in very high-end villas where NRIs are returning, etc., etc. So yes, they are very abused words, and ultimately, whether you call it premium or luxury, people have budgets. You need to fit into their budgets.
Correct.
So if you're not fitting into their budgets, the brand isn't for you. Or you need to offer something to fit into people with different kinds of budgets. That's how I would see it.
Yes, 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 absolutely. And one last question here. Do you think that Indians are shifting from their traditional, thinking of a stereotypical kitchen to a modern, kitchen, which is morely made on ergonomics and the design element is good. It's a design-led kitchen. So are they shifting or how it is?
It is happening, and it is happening for two reasons. I would say things like, MasterChef Australia definitely triggered that 10, 15 years back where people looked at cooking very differently. People looked at kitchens very differently because they obviously have one of the best kitchens in the world. Yeah. Second, I think in the pandemic, people had to cook so that they realized that ergonomics needs to work for me only, not just the maid who probably was not in discussion for the ergonomics. Third, I think there are two things happening again from a real estate point of view. Homes and kitchens are getting smaller.
Sure.
So how do you pack in all of that is again design and ergonomics. Or they are getting larger, and then you're having these breakfast tables in the kitchen or island countertops, and you're having a separate wet kitchen and dry kitchen, the larger thing.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of all of that happening, which is shifting the way. But the point is today, it's no longer a functional space.
Sure.
It is a space which, people are spending time as families. Yeah. You're also having parties where you're probably inviting your friends or family to cook along with you or, get the last minute prep done with you. So it becomes an area where people are connecting and meeting. And definitely today, I think the focus on food and health is very different. So again, how does your kitchen lend to that becomes equally important in my view.
Absolutely, yes. And that's what we at Tusker, we are, the most trusted brand, you can say, because our Google review is 4.9. And,
Wow.
We also take care of the hygiene part because, most of the problem starts from your kitchen only.
Correct.
And that's because of the termites and pest and water leakage and stuff. And we give a very good importance for the part that you are mentioning. Thanks a lot. So we are moving to our next segment. So Jamina, we have a very interesting segment here. We call it as Tusker Bites.
Okay.
You have to be little fast and furious. It's like a rapid fire.
Okay, I'll try my best.
Sure. So retail or D2C?
I don't think it's a choice. It's both because now retailers have gone online and D2C brands have gone offline. So everybody is omni-channel.
Offline or online?
Again, it's omni-channel. I don't think it's a choice anymore.
One word that defines great branding.
Customer centricity.
Brand or performance marketing?
Brand always.
Apple or IKEA?
IKEA. I just said that. Though I use a MacBook and iPhone, but yeah, IKEA equally well.
DMart or Costco?
Costco.
Minimalism or maximalism?
I am a maximalist. Indians are maximalists. So yes, maximalism.
Wood or steel?
Both have their purpose. So depends on the usage. But yes, I would say natural more.
One brand you wish you had built?
Tanishq.
AI or human creativity?
Creativity has to be human. It can't be AI. AI can help you execute it.
One marketing buzzword you hate?
Unique.
One founder you really want to work with?
Unfortunately, that opportunity may not come, but big fan of Phil Knight of Nike. His book Shoe Dog is like my all-time Bible.
Indian entrepreneur?
Indian entrepreneur. I kind of indirectly worked with him. I would say Mukesh Ambani. I was part of Reliance Retail. Never met him, but yes, indirectly worked with him.
One marketing lesson you want to teach the younger generation?
If you lose sight of the customer, if you don't keep the customer at the center of your product, your marketing communication, anything you do, you're reducing your chance of success. So customer centricity, I would again repeat.
3 mostly used app in your mobile?
WhatsApp, Instagram. LinkedIn.
Apart from that,
Swiggy, Big Basket. Yes, I'm a Big Basketeer. And Amazon.
one word for the future of Indian branding.
It's going to be very eclectic.
Built to last for you is what?
It is, you build something not just for today but tomorrow, but you also evolve as you build to last.
So, great. Thank you, Jomina. Now we are going to our last section of this podcast where we would like to know some, your journey ahead. And as a marketeer, what do you want to suggest for brands like us, from a modular industry or from a furniture industry, that what are the corrective measure that, we should take?
I think, like I said, and we probably explored your pain point or your customer's pain point at this time. I think the advisory aspect when they are building furniture, because you're building stuff which lasts. You just spoke of giving warranties of 20 plus years, which is unheard of in today's day and age.
Sure.
So you also want the customer to be happy over the 20 years and not think I should have designed it differently. So I would put a lot more focus on understanding the customer needs before you even show the first designs. You may probably want to do a questionnaire, maybe visit their existing kitchen and see how they are using it, what they feel is missing, which they want to add to the new kitchen,
Sure.
whatever the size may be.
Yeah.
So I would say that touch point is very important.
Okay.
Yeah. Kitchens, I would also say, are emotional spaces in the houses.
Sure.
So how do you interact with that homemaker and make her feel comfortable is again your marketing team's job as much as it's your sales team's job, I would think.
Yes.
And you have a very unique proposition, and your cost value benefit is high. I would exploit that in communication.
Superb. Thank you. And Jamina, what do you think is the future for quick commerce brands? Because the pace that they all are running, what do you think quick commerce will be in next 5 years?
I think I wouldn't have said this even a year back, but quick commerce is today, in another few years, it's going to be commerce, and the quick aspect is just going to be hygiene.
Oh,
Because the kind of products you can buy on quick commerce today, it's crazy. And the width and depth of, merchandise they have, again, is very crazy. So I think they are now in their boardroom saying we are e-commerce sites, we happen to deliver fast. It's not the delivery and 10 minutes which is really becoming the discussion, but it's really how do we be a complete e-commerce horizontally and vertically integrated platform. That's what they're moving towards. And with brands like Amazon also launching Amazon Now, it clearly shows that that's how it's going to go.
and I also wanted to understand, for my study that we all are trying to build brands. We are all are trying to make it organized. But what is going to happen to the unorganized sector? Because they are the, I think, equal contributor to our economy, and they are not very tech savvy. They don't know all these buzzwords. They don't know where the world is going. So is it going to be a mandatory, task for them to be a tech savvy or digital savvy and convert their chota sa business into a digital business, or they're going to die, or what is going to be the future for them?
See, the fact remains that digital is going to be a way of life.
Sure.
And we also saw in the pandemic that a lot of the mom and pop stores or, local chains also, if you may call them, really went digital faster than we could keep pace.
Sure.
And they had a very good way of managing customers digitally. The point is that yes, local retail is going to shrink. Let's not turn around and be very, optimistic about it. And the ones who will survive are the ones who will continue going digital, who may become dark stores for this commerce, which is going to deliver quick. And more importantly, even channels like ONDC, which the government is focusing on. So the future is digital. They will have to go digital. Some of them are, and they are doing a good job. Those who aren't are going to miss. And yeah, it is going to be challenging for them. I mean, I was talking to a brand, which is a proper FMCG brand, been in the country for over 30 years. And I was shocked to know that today their general trade has come down to 35%.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. And you would not
That's a
expect
huge volume.
huge volume.
Yeah.
So, they have 25% QCom because they are dividing their commerce, 25% e-com, which is 50% e-com, and they are now 35% general trade. I think that itself shows the shift.
I mean, that's a massive shift, but I'm still not sure about what will be the smaller, unorganized players, shopkeepers and tailors and all of these guys gonna are they gonna be like lost?
I will stick to, retail stores. I think services like tailoring, etc., will last because women in India like bespoke,
Sure.
you know, uh, stuff of that kind. So there, I think is because it's a skill.
Yeah.
It's not easily replaceable, right? But you can buy today an FMCG product across 10 channels, including 4 local stores.
Sure.
So that is where the threat comes in.
Sure.
Yeah. And it is shrinking. And if I really think of it, I would still once in a while halt my car and go to the store because I want to pick up a particular thing from so and so provision store. My son is not at all thinking of it. If it cannot be ordered on e-commerce, then the product is not needed by him. So that's the challenge. It's not the customer, it's the customer and their change in how they are, managing. How many youngsters are walking to a store? That is the question, not women like me who are walking into the store.
So again, that's something I was actually thinking, I met somebody like you a couple of weeks back and we were discussing that there has to be some digital training for people, unorganized shopkeepers and all. And I think there are a few brands who are coming up, and taking up this challenge.
Kunal Shah is going to do that in WhatsApp for sure.
Oh, I'm sure you'll do that. A very interesting case of that gentleman, I think,
Yeah.
and
And that is a digital revolution, right?
Yes.
That's when, UPI is a great example of adoption.
yeah.
And I think WhatsApp and WhatsApp commerce will probably be the next thing.
So we already started, in last 1 week only, I saw there are so many transactions. If I have a amount and now I can definitely click a link and pay that on WhatsApp. So it is definitely going to be
I'm talking of people using WhatsApp as a commerce
yes
channel.
in the next couple of years is what you think?
Probably by end of this year.
One last question, Jamina. What for you is built to last? Can you just talk a bit about it for you?
For me, build to last is, I think you start building something, you obviously intend for it to last. And for it to build to last, how do you really go with your customer who is changing and adapt to him, add to value to your customer's life, add value in making his life easier and making his life better. That's the only way you build something to last.
Thanks a lot for coming, Jamina, on our podcast. And it was a wonderful conversation. And we look forward to meet you again and have a meaningful and insightful discussion in the future.
I enjoyed this and I'm definitely coming to see your Tusker kitchens. Now you got me intrigued.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
So I really want to come and see that.
Thank you.
Thank you.